Yeah, I want to give all praises, and honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh Shai, Basham Rakal Kodash. This your brother Ram Kumar Bon Yahweh with the lesson. Kuwait's prime minister says countries on tightrope between U.S. and Iran, right? Because what? U.S. and Iran is going to be that 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 determining factor when World War III is going to happen. It's not of if but when, right? So, like, yeah. Most afa al kaldaham kalda called Hema also argues European Europe, Europe to assist the Middle Eastern nation debt riding economy, right? So this is all these things are going to come into play over what? Over money, right? Wars are always normally started from conversation, talking, but most of it's over what? Being able to make money and being able to dominate a certain particular part of land and currency, right? But we're going into the digital currency, and people are trying to position themselves because the world is going to go into a great big shift, right? So that's why China's coming with their digital dollar, creating a digital dollar, and all these other places are dealing with was it Bitcoin or some type of digital currency, right? Yeah. This is Daniel chapter 2 verse 41. And whereas thus saw the foot and toes part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, right? And you're dealing with that now because you got the Brexit, right? Which is called the British exit, right? And is dealing with monetary gain, which is money, which is why he's saying that Europe should help them, but Europe is trying to help itself. It's trying to separate from the other European nations, so that when all this thing shifts, that who got the most monetary? I think it was England. I think Germany was pretty good with their money, but France, I think Spain is doing bad. So basically, they're trying to separate themselves from like France and Spain, and they're staying connected with other European places that's strong, like England, or was it the UK, what they call it. Um, they don't have a problem with Germany, and they don't have a problem with some of those other European nations that their money is strong. It's those European nations that their money is weak, that they're departing from. Right? So they're divided. So that's happening now. So the things that so people tell you that the Old Testament is done away with, here it is. The old things in the Old Testament is coming to fruition today, right? And then they're divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thus saw the iron mix with miry clay, right? And as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom, right, which is, he's using this as an example, right? He saw a vision, and in the vision of the statue, starting with what Nebuchadnezzar and going on down to the Medes, the Persians, the Medes, uh, the Greeks, then to the Roman, and the Roman Empire is the fourth empire. But people think that that was just it with Rome, but Rome is the one that had the deadly wound and was healed, right? Which is dealing with the UK, the UN, right? NATO and EU and America, Slovakia, which basically NATO, EU, and America, which is those European nations, which they're bickering in between each other, right? And they're dividing, which is the British exit. You can look it up. Look up the British exit and you will see what it is. It's about money. So yeah, the toes, partly iron, partly clay. So the kingdom, right? This is the kingdom, right? Which is the beast system. And America's the harlot on the scarlet covered beast, which is NATO and EU, right? And NATO is the military, right? Which America's a part. And the EU is their the monetary, their money, right? Their economic, right? Which goes into, what is it called? The Treaty of Rome. If you look up the Treaty of Rome, you'll know that the Treaty of Rome goes into, they know that they're the Romans. So this will let you know that this is the second leg of Rome, which it said that a horn that came off from the original 10 or the original 8, right? A horn came off from them, or the original 10, and a horn came off from them, which is America, because America was part of Europe, right? And yes, basically talking about it's a kingdom. They shall be partly strong and partly broken, right? And that's what they're dealing with today. And whereas thus saw the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. Now, ain't America supposed to be the what do you call it? The melting pot? All these different so-called races of people and all these different. And if you go to England, you go to any of those European places, they're really mixed with different so-called cultures. I mean, the only place that ain't got a lot of soup, I mean, they have a little bit, like China has a little bit, but it's not nothing like those European nations, not like the beast, NATO, EU, and America. It's nothing like them, right? Right. So they're mixed with themselves with the seed of men, which is talking about the Israelites, right? That they should cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So they can't mix themselves in with the Israelites. You think you can have sex with a so-called black woman, and then your child can come out looking like a so-called black man, and somehow you're going to trick the Most High, and you're still going to get on the chariots and go to heaven. Or you have sex with a so-called Native woman or a so-called Mexican woman, and your child can somehow get fool the Most High, and you still end up making it into heaven. It's not going to happen, right? Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, right? Which is Esau, Edom, self-proclaimed white man. He transgressed by wine by calling himself, Greek, right? Which he conquered the Japhetic people, which would be like the the Aborigines from Australia, or the Hawaiians, which is the Polynesians. Those are actually Japhetic. Those are the Greeks, the actual real Greeks and Romans, the original Greeks and Romans. They conquered them and took on their name. So in history, you believe that the Greeks and the Romans were white people, or so-called, self-proclaimed, which they're Edomites, right? So-called white people, right? That's part of their wine, their philosophy, to conquer Europe and then call themselves European. There were a people before they were there. They were the Israelites, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi were there in Europe, right? Keeping when you go into King James, it tell you that King James kept the Passover. So that means King James was an Israelite. He was a so-called black man, right? So they conquered and said that they're Spanish, they're the Portuguese, they're the French, right? But there were people before them. That's their philosophy, right? To tell you, to kill you, murder you, and then come crouching to you like, oh yeah, let's be buddies, let's be friends, let's make a peace treaty. And then after he makes the peace treaty with you, he doesn't uphold his end of the bargain, but he makes sure you hold your end of the bargain, right? That's his wine. That's his philosophy. He is a proud man, neither a keeper at home, right? Because they got their military all over the world, right? There's a U.S. military base all over the world, right along with so-called Great Britain. They have military bases all over the world, but nobody has more than what the United States, right? He who enlargeth his desire as hell, right, which is the grave, and is as death, right, which is the grave, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all people all nations, right, which are different type of people, the melting pot, basically just like what I was saying, how that was the mingle people. They're going to try to mingle themselves, right? But you can't mingle yourself and somehow you become an Israelite because you mingled all these different things. And then, oh yeah, that's another way of their wine. God loves everybody. God is for the strangers, for the Gentiles, and you know what I mean. Would teach you plantation Christianity, right? That's another way of their wine, their philosophy, right? Because based on the Bible, God doesn't love everybody. You know what I'm saying? And he's not here to save everybody. He's not even here to save all of Israel. It tells you 2/3 in Zechariah 13:8 that 2/3 of Israel shall perish. So how does God love everybody? And that's his own people. You know? What was it? Yeah, all nations, yeah, like I'm saying, mingling, trying to mingle themselves together. You know what I'm saying? Make the great melting pot, which lets you know this is America, and heap unto him all people, right? Shall not all these take up a parable against him, a taunting proverb against him, right? Which is against America, because they're everywhere taking everybody's land, their money, all sorts of things, promising them this, promising them that, doing this, doing that, will help you. What Trump's putting tariffs on people. So they people are pissed off right now, right? Because they know everybody's going through a hard time right now. You know what I mean? Taunting proverb against him, and say, woe unto him, right? Which means destruction, weeping and gnashing of teeth, that increaseth that which is not his, right? And what have the so-called white man done? He's in Australia, he's in Hawaii, he's in South America, he's in North America, he's in Canada, he's in Europe, he's in goddamn China, Japan, you know what I mean? South Africa, they're literally went around the world conquering different parts. They have military bases all over the world. They're everywhere. You know what I mean? Increasing that which is not his, man. How long? Like, how long is this going to go on, Father? When is that day of your recompense is going to come? And to him that layeth unto himself thick clay. Now this goes into that same thing that it was talking about the miry clay, about how it's partly strong, partly broken, right? This is the Blue Letter Bible. That I'm going into. And see right here, same verse. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and saying, woe, which means destruction, weeping and gnashing of teeth, that increase of that which is not his, how long? Right? And he layeth himself with thick clay. Now let's see what that clay means, because it goes into that same thing, right?
Strong's H 5671. Aptit.
Weight of plagues or heavy debt. Pledges. A weight of pledges or heavy debt. Well, basically, it's basically debt. Right? So aptit, right? They're partly strong, partly broken. There's, like I said, this really has to do with money. Right? Partly strong, partly broken, dealing with debt, heavy debt. I don't know if you can see that. A load of debt right here. Right underneath that right there. Hence a load of debt. Right? That's what it is. So they're partly strong, partly broken. Some got money, some don't. And that's why he's saying, hey, when y'all gonna help out the Middle East? When y'all gonna do this and that? Y'all been coming over here, getting our oil, getting our uranium, killing us, murdering us. But then when it's time to help us, no one's here to help us. So it's gonna make anger between the Middle East and Europe and also America. It says this is Ezekiel 38 and 3. And say, thus saith Yahweh, power, Elohim, behold, which means feast your eyes upon, to pay attention. I am against thee, right? Which means you. I'm against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, right? Which is talking about Russia. Gog and Magog is the land, like in that area where Russia's at. So we know that this is talking about Russia. I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. I will bring thee forth and all thy armies, right? And horses and horsemen. So the Lord said he's going to bring them back into that war mentality, that USSR mentality, to come against the United Snakes, right? To come against Babylon the Great, which is known as America, right? Which is the daughter of Babylon, the daughter of the Chaldeans, which is America, Mystery Babylon. You know what I'm saying? That's what we believe, and that's that's that. You know what I mean? So, um, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even great, even a great company with bucklers and shields, and all of them handling sword. Right? He said preparing them for a war. What war is that? World War III, Armageddon. Right? It says Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, and all them with shield and helmet. Right? So let's go into that. Empire Persia is right. See, it's Empire Persia encompassed the territories from India and Egypt and Thracia and the west, and on the west include, besides, portions of Europe, right? Africa, the whole of Western Asia, right? Because this is when they ruled, which is actually Babylon. This is the time when Babylon ruled, right? So India is modern day Babylon, beyond the Black Sea, right? So that's basically talking about the territory that when the Medes and the Persians ruled during the when after they conquered Babylon, or that was the Babylonian Empire, right? Which is India. So to get what I was saying is right there, it says right here, Iran, also called Persia. So just like when you seen that in the verse, one of the first things it said was Persia, right? Then it tells Gog and Magog, which is Russia, to protect uh, those those Persians and those other people from who? From the whore, from Mystery Babylon, which is not a mystery anymore. It's America. It's the daughter of the Chaldeans, right? Which is America, Babylon the Great, right? So it said, yeah. So it said even a great company with shield, buckler, all of them handling sword. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with them all with shield and helmet, right? Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmoth and the north quarters and all his bands, right? Which his armies, and many people with thee, right? So there's going to be many people with Russia to come against, you know, to be ready for this World War III, right? The Battle of Armageddon, right? But thus prepare, right? Prepare and prepare for thyself. So prepare what? Persia, which is actually present day Iran, right? and prepare yourself, right? Prepare yourself for war, for the battle. Thus, in all thy company that are assembled unto you, and be thus a guard unto them. It says protect them, be a guard unto them, right? This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast came up, right? Which is dealing with the fourth beast, right? Which is dealing with the toes, partly clay, partly iron, partly strong, partly broken, right? That's the fourth beast. So it came up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, which talking about the Roman Empire. And he exercised all the power of the first beast, which is the Roman Empire, right? Because they came through slaughtering, killing, conquering more land than any other empire before them, right? Because if you actually pay attention to every empire, each empire from the beginning, like when you go into Nebuchadnezzar conquered the Assyrians, then the Persians conquered Nebuchadnezzar, and then the Greeks conquered the Persians, right? Which is now modern day Iran, right? They conquered them, right? And then after they conquered them, each land, basically to get to what I was saying, each land they conquered, it expanded, going into this beast where they conquered the entire world, right? After, because after Rome fell, watch, it says he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth, right, the whole entire earth, and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, right? That's why you have when you go to other countries, they'll have a so-called like a democracy system set up. They'll have a president, or they'll have a prime minister or something, but it's basically like this system the way they did it in Rome, right? You can go to Japan, you can go pretty much anywhere. I mean, most places are set up like America. They, I mean, there's of course, you got China, you got North Korea and stuff. They don't do that, but there's most of the places on the earth are set up like Rome, and them that dwell therein, whose deadly wound was healed, which is talking about America now. Now, once the deadly wound was healed, we're talking about NATO, EU, and America, right? Which is the Treaty of Rome. Go look up the Treaty of Rome. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire to come down from heaven, right? Well, that's when America, was it called? NATO. NATO is their the military fraction of the European nations and America. That's why they always team together, because America branches off from England, basically from Europe. So do Canada. All of them are all part of the same thing. They're all Edomites, and they're all part of the same conspiracy, basically. You know what I'm saying? To come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men, which is on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they dropped the atom bomb and deceive them that dwell on the earth, right? To call them Greeks, Romans, to call self-proclaimed white people. What is it? Is it 1781? I believe I had to look it up again, but I think it's 1781 in Virginia. They passed a law to deem themselves to become white. So they want, you know what I'm saying? So they conquer lands, conquer people, and then call themselves after those people. And then after they conquer certain lands, they name those lands after their own names. You know what I mean? Columbus, America, Africa. Those are white people names, right? Columbia. That's a so-called white man's name, right? To deceive them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, right? And they knew miracle is going to be this RFID chip, and when you deal with what's that thing called, the ICBM missiles, you know, that's a miracle. You know, them being able to fly jets and planes and all these type of things. Those are miracles. Like now we don't really think of it so big, but you know, it's not that long ago that the first plane has actually flew. Like that's actually incredible. That's a miracle. You know what I mean? So, which had power to do in the sight of the beast, which is NATO and EU, right? Because dealing with America, they had the power to drop the bomb on the atomic on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. To them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image, right, to copy, to start wearing suits and building all your buildings sky high. When in the known ancient world, you never build any building or any dwelling place so high. You know what I mean? Right? Copy their democracy. Now you want McDonald's and homosexual activity in your country. You want your women to be out of order. You know, the women can do what they want to do. The men can do what they want to do. You know what I mean? Just out of order. Which had the wound by the sword and did live, right? Which is talking about America. They did live. Talking about Rome through NATO, EU, and America. What? It's living again through the Treaty of Rome, right? Through that power that they used, and had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, right? This is what they're coming into, because this World War III is all going to happen. So this is all what this is about, because that digital dollar's coming in and everybody's looking for their piece of the pie, because all these nations were in on capturing and stealing and keeping the Israelites down. So now that everything's finna change, they're like, okay, everybody's scrambling. The Lord is on his way. And he calls all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, right? Which is why they want to have the mask on. You can't even go in the store unless you have a mask on. Which the next thing is going to be, you can't go in the store unless you got the vaccination. Then next, you know, you can't go into the store unless you got the RFID chip. So it's gradualization. Save he that had the mark or the name of the beast, Slakia, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that haveth understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man. It is, and his number is 666, which is 666, right? Because the score is 20, and then but he said 6, so it'd be 666, 66.6% of Israel, which is 2/3 of Israel, is gonna die. So God don't even love all of all of Israel right now at this point. So all that God loves everybody. I mean, That's BS. So call law Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai, Basham Rakak Wadash, right? Double honors to the elders from Abba Bibbins on down to the elders that rule well today. Salutations and salute to the elect of the nation of Israel and the Akwaf that's listening and learning. I'd like to say Shalom and death to America.